Call to order the City Council meeting for the City Council for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado for July 8th, 2019. If you would please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Zachary Urban,
Present.
David Keeter,
Present.
Leah Dozeman,
Here.
George Pond,
Present.
Larry Matthews,
Here.
Janice Hoppy,
Present.
and Mr. Mayor, the council members Davis and Weaver have excused themselves for this evening, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you. We have a special proclamation this evening. If Chief Dan Brennan would join me at the patio, or not the patio, the podium. The patio is next week or the week after. I think so. Hi, how are you guys? Special going on today, so. I would like to read a proclamation in appreciation of Dan Brennan, in recognition of his dedication and commitment as the Chief of Police for the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado. Whereas the Mayor and City Council of the City of Wheat Ridge desire to formally express appreciation to Police Chief Dan Brennan, who has served the City of Wheat Ridge with integrity, respect, courage, perseverance, and initiative. And whereas Chief Brennan has spent 42 years of dedicated service in law enforcement, and whereas for more than 14 years, Chief Brennan has provided leadership for the men and women of the Wheat Ridge Police Department, and whereas the members of the City of Wheat Ridge Police Department not only safeguard the rights and freedoms of those who live, work, and play in our city, but fulfill an essential role in maintaining the quality of life for Wheat Ridge residents. And whereas it is important that everyone know and understand the leadership skills required to oversee the challenges faced by the Wheat Ridge police officers, as well as their duties and responsibilities for safeguarding life and property by providing protection against violence and disorder, and by shielding the innocent against deception and the weak against abuse, oppression, and intimidation. And whereas over the course of the last 42 years, Chief Dan Brennan has tirelessly provided a vital public service to the Wheat Ridge community in partnership with organizations and agencies throughout Jefferson County. Therefore, be it resolved that on behalf of the City Council and the people of the City of Wheat Ridge, I, Bud Starker, Mayor of the City of Wheat Ridge, Colorado, by virtue of the authority invested in me, do hereby proclaim appreciation to Chief Dan Brennan for his faithful and loyal devotion to law enforcement for the past 42 years, and to the people of Wheat Ridge over the course of his 14 and a half years with the department. In witness thereof, on this 8th day of July, 2019, Bud Starker, Mayor. I'd like to invite CBI Director John Camper up to the podium. John, I understand you've got a few things to say.
Mayor, members of council, I'm John Camper, Director of CBI, but I'm also the outgoing president of the Colorado Association of Chiefs of Police. The coveted Charles Pat Steele Award is awarded for long-term professional and ethical contributions to our profession, to the people of Colorado as a Colorado police chief. It's named after Chief Charles Steele, who served for 29 years as the chief of the Loveland Police Department from 1947 to 1976. Recently, I was honored to present this award to a chief of police who has made an outstanding impact on our profession and upon our association, and I'm honored to have the opportunity to represent it again in front of this council. Chief Brennan began his career, as was mentioned, with the Lakewood Police Department in 1977. He quickly established himself as a leader, serving as a crime scene investigator, member of the Special Tactics and Response Team, as well as the range staff. After serving as an internal affairs investigator and detective, Chief Brennan was promoted to sergeant in 1987. He supervised patrol and investigative teams, and in 1990, he received Lakewood's Medal for Meritorious Service for disarming an armed suicidal subject. He was promoted to commander in 1997, where he was responsible for the department's grants, budget, and accreditation, and soon became a CALEA assessor and president of the Rocky Mountain Accreditation Network. He helped develop the Lakewood's Tactical Emergency Medical Support Team, as well as numerous other innovative programs that positively changed policing in Lakewood. Dan was committed to lifelong improvement, obtaining his master's degree in 1997. He went on to attend the FBI National Academy, the Senior Management Institute for Police, the Community Policing Executive Leadership course, and many other leadership development opportunities. After serving as the director of the Colorado Regional Community Policing Institute and the Colorado Police Corps, as you know, in 2005, Dan was named chief of Wheat Ridge Police Department. In that capacity, he's continued to be innovative and community-focused. He developed the TLC, Traffic Life Quality and Crime Program, a multifaceted model that includes outreach to residents and property owners in an identified area. Similarly, the I-70 Crossroads Project addresses perceptions of crime and the fear of crime by businesses and property owners in the I-70 and Kipling area. Under Chief Brennan's leadership, the Wheat Ridge PD launched a Dog Watcher Watch program, a form of neighborhood watch where community members are trained to look for suspicious incidents and report issues to the police. The list goes on, so bear with me. I won't go on, but just for a short time. Chief Brennan works with the Records Management System Consortium, as well as the newly formed Jefferson County Regional Communications Center. He's spearheaded your police department's migration to body-worn cameras, and the department has received its third reaccreditation from CALEA. Chief Brennan's a board member of the State Crime Victims Advisory Board, the Colorado Regional Community Policing Institute, and the Colorado Cold Case Task Force, and he serves on the Post Board as well. Within your community, as you may know, he's president of the Wheat Ridge Rotary Chapter. He's been active with the Community Food Bank, MAD, Family Tree, the Police Athletic League, the Boy Scouts, the Children's Advocacy Center, and countless others. For our association, CACP, in addition to serving as president from 2010 to 2011, Chief Brennan has continued to serve in a leadership role. Just as important, he's served as a mentor and a valued resource to many of our members. So upon the occasion of Chief Brennan's retirement, we could think of nobody more deserving of this honor than Dan. His career has been marked by innovation, collaboration, and a commitment to the continued improvement of our association and our profession. So I hope you'll join me in congratulating Dan on this award and thanking him for his 42 years of law enforcement service.
So I promise I'll be short, but I had to write a few things down. So, Mayor, John, City Council, thank you for the award tonight and the proclamation. I'm very humbled by all of this and feel very blessed to have served as long as I have in law enforcement. You know, it's been an honor to serve this community and to lead the men and women of this police department, to work with all of you on policy issues, and to make Wheat Ridge a better community. And I remember when I got here in 2005, Wheat Ridge was just on the cusp of really seeing some really significant things happen. And over the 14 and a half years I've been here, it's been absolutely incredible to see, you know, the positive change that we've seen in the community. We're not perfect, nobody is, and we certainly, all have have different ideas on what will make this community better and greater, but I got the opportunity to really be involved in some really worthwhile, challenging projects. And so it was a really tough decision for me to decide to retire after 42 years, because I see some really bright and really creative things on the horizon. 42 years in law enforcement sounds like a long time. Division Chief Lawrence reminded me a couple months ago that he was looking at the photographs of all 4 of Wheat Ridge's chiefs in the lobby, and that I don't look that young anymore. And he's right, I don't. 14 and a half years as a chief, can take its toll on you, but it does still seem like I just started my career yesterday, and I just became the chief yesterday. That's how much passion and that's how much commitment I've had for this job and what I do. So I wanted to take the opportunity to thank groups of people, right? Because if I thank individuals, I'm going to miss somebody. So thank you to my staff, my command team, past and present, for their willingness to buy into the vision that the city manager has for this community and the vision I have for the PD. Thanks to the members of the Wheat Ridge Police Department for their commitment to that vision and mission and core values of our agency, and the commitment they bring to work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to make our community safer. Thanks to all of you, elected officials past and present. We have not always agreed on all topics, but I've learned a tremendous amount about policy development and from all of you. And you've made me think differently as a police chief, and that's made me a better person, so thank you for that. And thanks to the citizens and the stakeholders in the community, the faith-based community, our service clubs, our business associations, our nonprofits. It has really been my pleasure and honor to have worked with many great men and women who are passionate about making Wheat Ridge and Jefferson County better. And last of all, I've got to thank my wife, Mary. We've been married 42 years. We got married exactly 4 days after I got my call to start my career in policing at Lakewood. And nobody achieves this rank and this status in an organization without the really strong support of their partner, their spouse, and their family. Thanks to my grandkids who had the courage to come up here with Dad and celebrate this thing. They were so excited at the house. I didn't know if they'd really come up or not. But I am going to spend my retirement years giving back time to my family, to my grandkids. And I also want you to know that I'm not leaving. I'm not moving from the community. My intention is still to remain in the community, to still be a leader in some capacity in the community, and to give back to a city and a community that's been so gracious and helpful to me. So thank you very much.
We have our first opportunity for public input on the 2000 budget is next on our agenda item, but we are going to take that up with the citizens' right to speak in just a couple of minutes. Council, before you in your packets you have council minutes of June 24, 2019 and study session notes as of May 6, 2019. Are there any corrections to these documents? Thank you. Seeing none, we will let the minutes stand as presented. Is there any changes that anyone wishes to make to the agenda? And we will move with the agenda as prepared. We are at citizens' right to speak, where you may speak on any item not on the agenda for 3 minutes. And I'm also opening this up for discussion or citizens' opportunity to speak on the 2020 budget. I have no one signed up under either of these. Is there anyone here who is not signed up who would like to speak at this time? Okay, we will move through our citizens' right to speak. And to item number, yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am. Either one. We'll do either on the budget or any item that is not on the agenda. Please come to the podium, and when you get there, if you would introduce yourself, first name and last name, if you would spell your last name and give us an address, and you have 3 minutes after you introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Perry Minkler, and I live at 4000 Independence Court. And I'm here today because for the first time, my husband and I are thinking of leaving Wheat Ridge and selling our home because we came back on the 28th of June to find out our new neighbors at 4005 Independence Court had 11 to 12 vehicles, tow trucks, non-operational vehicles that they're operating and trading vehicles out of the home, and towing vehicles in and out of the home. And we pay our taxes, and I understand that the community service officers have been great in responding to go and talk to them, but the problem isn't fixed. And we have 2 people in our neighborhood who are running junk businesses out of their home, and I just implore you to please take some action, because we're thinking of leaving a community that my husband was born and raised in, because our land value has gone to nothing, and I understand people are interested in fixing it, but it's not fixed, and I really need change to happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak either on the budget or any other item under citizens' right to speak? Yes, ma'am. On the budget? Oh, please come to the podium.
My name is Lourdes Weingart. I live at 3935 Independence Court. I've been there for almost 10 years. Oh no, a little bit over 10 years. The property on 4005 Independence Court, when the people have moved in with several U-Haul trucks, and I'm talking huge. And it's a small home, and they have, like Perry was saying, and they're all just like, it looks like a junkyard, car junkyard. And they have any illegal, I would think it would be illegal, traffic light in their backyard. I mean, it stands this tall. And other things in that backyard. But all the vehicles everywhere, they are using even the church parking lot. And I don't know if the church people know about this, but they're using the that parking lot for parking their junk cars and their tow trucks and everything. And it's a mess, and it's bringing down our value of our homes. And we love it, living in Wheat Ridge. We want to stay in Wheat Ridge, but like Perry, I mean, we might have to reconsider that. These people are constantly busy, all day long, all night long. I don't know if these people are on drugs or what, because I don't see how, because they have so much energy. They're constantly moving things around, clanking, pounding on metal, constantly. And that's my concern. And I hope that something can be done about it, as well as for the house on 3930 that Perry was talking about. The gentleman there had his 2 Akita dogs taken away only because finally those dogs end up biting. And actually it was a Denver officer that was bit with her dog after many of my complaints of this gentleman and the junk that he has in his yard and running, he's selling cars, just like these people. I think they might be doing that. I'm not sure. But definitely it's just a mess, and just vehicles all over the place. It's a mess, and it doesn't bring our value to our home and property up.
Thank you.
very much for your time.
Thank you very much for coming. Is there anyone else tonight who would like to speak under public comment?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
Could I have these two ladies to be sure to write your names down and your names and addresses and print clearly so we can get it right in the minutes? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
If I may, complaints have been filed, CSOs are working on it, and their issue right now is that we have alleviated some of the problem, but not completely eliminated it, so.
I'll check first thing in the morning. See what it's at.
PD is on the case.
Thank you very much. And you'll stay on track of that, Mr.
Yeah, we'll check first thing in the morning, see why it's not finished yet.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, then that will, I think, conclude us with public comments section, and we will go to item number 1, the consent agenda. Ms. Hoppy, would you please introduce item number 1?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce consent agenda item 1A, motion to award the purchase of and subsequent payments for 25 mobile data computer replacements in the amount of $79,000 to Mailer and Company, Inc. in New York, New York.
And it is a motion what is in order.
Thank you. I move to approve consent agenda item 1A.
Second.
Mr. Urban got the second on this one. We have, will the clerk please poll the council?
The motion carries 6-0.
Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 2. Ms. Dozman, would you please introduce agenda item number 2?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 39-2019, a resolution approving a major subdivision plat with right-of-way dedication for property zone planned residential development, PRD, and located at 4440 Tabor Street, case number WS-18-03/Clear Creek Terrace.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, a resolution, and it is quasi-judicial, so I'm going to open the public hearing. If you intend to give testimony on this, would you please stand and raise your right hand and affirm, do you intend to tell the truth as you understand it in this matter? If you do, please say, I do. You may sit down, please. Thank you. So, Mr. Goff, do we have a presentation on this?
We do. Mr. Scott Cutler this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Cutler.
Thanks. I'm Scott Cutler, a planner with the City of Wheat Ridge Community Development Department. We're here to hear case number WS-1803, which is approval of a major subdivision at 4440 Tabor Street. I'd like to enter into the public record the contents of this case file, the subdivision regulations, and this digital presentation. The properties within the City of Wheat Ridge, all appropriate notification and posting requirements have been met, and therefore the City Council has jurisdiction to hear this case. This is an aerial view of the property from 2018. It's approximately 2.09 acres. It's currently vacant, and it's just east of Tabor Street and north of 44th Avenue. Surrounding areas a mix of uses. To the south is apartment buildings and a single-family home as well. To the east are duplexes and triplexes. To the north are duplexes and single-family homes, and then mostly commercial to the west of Tabor and south of 44th Avenue. The current zoning, the site is zoned PRD, Planned Residential Development. Surrounding zonings include R3 to the south and northeast, R2 to the north, and MUN and C1 to the west. So there's a mix of zonings in the area, just like there are a mix of uses. The request this evening is a proposed townhome development of 26 lots across 5 buildings with 4 tracts that are commonly maintained. There's a right-of-way dedication onto Tabor Street to allow for some public improvements, and the plat will also grant utility easements and drainage easements. 26 townhomes are allowed under the current zoning, which was approved by City Council on April 8th, 2019, and then the specific development plan, which is the site plan and architectural drawings for the property, was approved by Planning Commission at its meeting on June 20th, 2019. So City Council's review of the plat is the final step in the approvals process. The major subdivision is needed to sell the lots separately as townhomes, as opposed to condos or apartments, which do not require a plat. Subdivision plats do not change the zoning, approved SDPs, or permitted uses. The purpose of the subdivision is to create developable parcels for land use that is already permitted by the ODP. So this is a closer view of the plat, and it's also available in the staff report. There are 5 groups of townhome lots that are outlined in orange. These lots include building, driveway, and private front yard patio areas. The rest of the subdivision is commonly maintained by the HOA, including driveways, landscaped areas, and drainage tracts. Landscaping areas are generally outlined in green, though there are additional areas that I couldn't outline on here. And then the drainage tract is located to the east of the eastern alley and is surrounded by landscaping. There's 5 feet of right-of-way dedication along Tabor Street, which I mentioned earlier, and that's to accommodate sidewalks, a landscaped amenity zone with street trees, and additional pavement on Tabor Street, which is considered substandard. There are adjacent proposed development to the southeast, which has a separate ownership and separate zoning. If both moved forward, there would be a potential for cross-access, which we often seek to better distribute traffic and help with emergency access by allowing for multiple access points. The remaining pages of the plat are in the staff report. They cover more specifically the easements for sanitary, drainage, water, and utilities. There was a traffic trip generation analysis performed for the subject property and the adjacent parcel I mentioned earlier. A summary of the applicant's trip generation report is provided by Public Works, which is in the staff report. Traffic analysis assumes 26 units on the site, plus the potential for 18 units on the adjacent development that may have access through the site for a maximum potential of 44 units. As estimated, a maximum of 16 trips during the peak hour would be generated, which would further be distributed among the 2 entrances. These are far below the standards for just 1 entrance, and in this case, the development would have 2 entrances, potentially. Because of this, Public Works concurs it would not be appropriate to request auxiliary lanes at this time. However, there are plans for Tabor Street in the future to have a center turn lane. It should be also noted that as part of this development, additional pavement will be added to Tabor Street as well as sidewalks. So the process, the ODP and SDP, like I mentioned earlier, have already been approved, and Planning Commission has also recommended approval of this plat. There are no concerns from outside agencies. We sent this application on a full referral to fire, water, sanitation, and other districts, and they had no concerns. Public Works and Planning have also found this plat to be approvable, and final civil construction documents are under review by Public Works. There was a 15-day public noticing for this City Council hearing, and we did not receive any contact. Ultimately, staff has concluded the request meets the subdivision review regulations, and all agencies can serve the property. Will allow the development of the site as approved through the ODP and SDP to proceed. For those reasons, we're recommending approval of the request. Recommended conditions of approval are provided in the staff report. I'm available to answer questions, and I believe the applicant is here as well and may answer questions. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Before we go to questions of council, of staff, or the applicant, I would like to open the portion of the meeting to public comment. I don't have anyone signed up to speak on this item. Is there anyone who hasn't signed up who would like to speak on this item? I'll look closely because I missed a few earlier, but the light is better. Okay, I don't see anyone that wants to speak, so I will open it up to council for questions of the applicant or staff. Ms. Dosman.
Thank you. So is the subdivision primarily to allow for right-of-way access in those dedications? Like if it's a use by right for 26 townhomes, like what is the nature of?
Yeah, so because they're townhomes, they're each on individual lots. So the purpose of the subdivision plat is maybe threefold. One, to create those lots where they can build individual townhomes, either as a group or in some sort of a phased manner. Secondly, they are dedicating right away to do some improvements on Tabor Street and add a sidewalk. And then thirdly, really to dedicate the outlots and the easements that will give them areas to provide common drainage areas and necessary sanitary and water and other dry utilities.
So to follow up with that, I know that we allow for fees in lieu of parkland dedication. Do we have a cap on that at some point? Because I mean, most of these developers and developments are coming in and choosing to do the fees in lieu of parkland, and I'm just worried that we're not allowing for enough green space in these high-dense areas.
Yeah, we always refer any subdivision, whether it be townhomes or single-family, to the Parks Department for input. And that is either goes at a staff level, or in some cases, they'll take that to the Parks Commission if they think it's a bigger proposal. We don't have any additional parks kind of on our Parks Master Plan in this area. So we think that really, I think the Parks Department has taken the position that the fees in lieu really give them resources to make capital investments in existing parks that might be in proximity to the area. So, and the other challenge with a small development like this is the size of what would be dedicated would be very, very small, and probably not meaningful, but also really challenging from a maintenance standpoint to maintain a really small facility like that in a series of, half a dozen different locations throughout the city as projects get approved.
So I have a couple other questions.
Please.
Okay. So one of the things that the Planning Commission had brought up is a connection between Tabor and this property and the Clear Creek Trail. Can you kind of touch on that, on whether that's a part of the plan, if that's going to be feasible?
Yeah. So obviously, the project is fairly close to the Clear Creek Trail, just a couple blocks away, which is a great amenity, I'm sure, for the people that are proposing to build here and who will live here. So Tabor Street is a designated bike route, and that's a nice connection to the north, albeit you have to cross I-70, but it gets you up to the commuter rail station. I'm not aware of any planned improvements either further to the north other than what we've already built. North of the I-70 frontage road, we were able to build some bike lanes as part of that RTD project a couple years ago. But there's no imminent plans for anything to go further south down to the trail that I'm aware of.
I also noticed that they are planning on putting a bike lane in front of this development. Are there plans to extend that at some point, or will it just be kind of like a out-of-the-place bike lane in this area?
We've talked about some creative solutions to do some sort of a facility on Tabor Street on the bridge over I-70, but it would, for now, I think, be somewhat of an isolated improvement.
And is that necessary in that area, or like what was the idea behind that?
Well, whenever we're contemplating whether to ask for improvements or sometimes fees in lieu of making the improvements, we try and evaluate whether it would get used, and we thought there was sufficient justification that it would get used, and the same with the sidewalk in the short term, that it's worth getting the improvements in place.
I have a couple more.
Okay, let me check and make sure we don't have other counselors waiting. Has anyone else got? Well, Ms. Dozeman, you've got the floor.
Okay, so I drive this corridor on a daily basis, and I have seen a lot of traffic backing up, both east and west of that traffic light from I-70, and specifically traffic trying to turn left onto Tabor. There are times when there are so many cars backed up that it's through the intersection at I-70, and then that light is really timed awkwardly to where in the morning sometimes only one or two cars are getting through before the green is getting to red. So I know that you guys have found that this has been a negligible impact as far as traffic goes in that manner, but I don't know what we are going to do to solve that issue, but it's an issue right now without an additional 26
And Jordan
units.
Jeffries in our Public Works Engineering staff is here. It's my understanding that we're in an ongoing kind of investigator. We're monitoring that intersection to see what, if any, changes need to occur, but Jordan, I don't know if you have any more specifics that you could offer.
Yeah, we're actually doing a warrant study. We're going to start collecting data tomorrow. We'll be doing that through Thursday, and then we'll do a warrant study at that intersection over the next couple weeks. So at that point, we should have a good idea whether a traffic light is warranted at that intersection or not.
Thank you.
Just for the record, would you give us your name?
My name is Jordan Jeffries. I'm a civil engineer in Public Works.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews.
That raises an interesting question because we already have the traffic light at the ramp to I-70, so that would put a traffic light just a few hundred feet apart. Is that what you were really intending to say? If we put a new traffic light in at Tabor?
Yes.
And how will that work with a couple hundred feet between traffic lights?
I'm not exactly sure what you're asking.
Well, if you put traffic lights close by, anyone driving north on Wadsworth, where even three-acre lane in front of Safeway interferes in traffic from 44th backs up to 3-acre lane. But if you go north and through that mess of traffic lights at I-70 and 52nd there by Costco, you sit there and your light's green, but you can't move because people from 3 traffic lights ahead of you can't move. And CDOT refuses to put traffic lights within like a quarter mile of each other. What makes us think we'll be successful?
That's correct. Those are CDOT lights, so I can't speak as to how those are timed. There's also significantly more traffic on CDOT roads typically, but we would work to coordinate those lights, the Tabor light, along with any adjacent lights, so they would work in conjunction.
Thank you. Ms. Dozeman?
So when do you expect this project to break ground, and when do you expect it to be finished?
The townhomes, not the traffic. We could ask the developer, they're in attendance, what their planned schedule is.
Would the developer please come forward and you can use the podium, and if you'd give us your first name and last name, and give us an address too, please.
My name is Steven Sundberg. I live at 9640 West Chatfield Avenue, Unit D. When it comes to timing, obviously there's some other concerns with the rezoning, but overall we do look forward to get started as soon as possible. Can't speak to the owner's intentions as to what he would look to start first. As soon as we're able to, we'd like to get started. In terms of an overall time frame, though, I'd probably look at about a year and 2 to 4 months for all 5 buildings.
Thank you. Mr. Matthews?
Just as a rebuttal, we now have traffic light at Yukon at 38th and Wadsworth, very close to Wadsworth. And that traffic light is already interfering, and we're getting people backed up and not being able to get through. And that's on 38th Avenue, not a CDOT property. We need to take a look at that timing also. Traffic lights, it's a common rule of thumb that traffic lights within a few hundred feet of each other are notoriously difficult to time to keep traffic moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I close the public hearing, is there any more questions of staff or the applicant? I'm going to close the public hearing, and Ms. Dozeman, a motion is in order.
Hold on, let me just get there. All right. I move to approve resolution number 39-2019, a resolution approving a major subdivision with right-of-way dedication for property located at 4440 Tabor Street and Zone Planned Residential Development PRD for the following reasons. 1, City Council has conducted a proper public hearing that meets all public notice requirements as required by Section 26-109 and 26-407 of the Code of Laws. 2, the requested subdivision has been reviewed by the Planning Commission, which has forwarded its recommendation of approval. 3, the subdivision plat has been found in compliance with Article 4 of Chapter 26 of the Code of Laws. 4, all agencies can provide services to the property with improvements installed at the developer's expense and with the following conditions. 1, prior to recordation, the applicant shall pay the required fees in lieu of parkland dedication. 2, the developer shall enter into a subdivision improvement agreement and a lot sale restriction covenant agreement prior to recordation of the subdivision plat. 3, prior to issuance of building permits, the developer shall provide homeowners association covenants for review and approval by staff.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council?
Motion carries 5-1 with Councilmember Matthews voting no.
Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 3. Mr. Pond, would you please introduce item number 3?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item number 3, motion to ratify mayoral appointments to the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority. And the members of the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority are appointed by the mayor and ratified by council. There's currently a vacancy in District 3, term to expire March 2nd, 2024. 3 applications were received for the vacant position.
And the motion is in order.
I move to ratify District 3 mayoral appointment of Marcia Hughes to the Wheat Ridge Urban Renewal Authority, term to expire March 2nd, 2024.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion? Will the
Second.
clerk- Ms. Hoppy?
Hoppy.
And we'll,
Mr. Mayor, Marcia Hughes is here this evening. I think she wanted to say a few words too.
excellent. Ms. Hughes, would you like to come forward? And if you would please introduce yourself and give us your address.
I'd be delighted to. Marcia Hughes, 3240 Zephyr Court, Wheat Ridge. I just wanted to take 1 minute to say hello to all of you that I know, including Jerry Dahl. We worked together for about 10 years before we ever thought we'd have white hair. I love being in Wheat Ridge, and I appreciate this opportunity to serve the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Will the clerk please poll the council?
Oh, just a minute. Just a minute. Okay, now you can vote. Sorry. Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hughes. Welcome to this position, and thank you very much for coming tonight. Okay, that concludes our business portion of our agenda. We will go to city managers matters. Mr. Goff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Apologize for the heat this evening. Our HVAC system broke down this afternoon. A part froze, I was told, so they're trying to get a new part. Hopefully it'll be up before your next meeting. And I'm also happy and pleased to announce that we've made a selection and an offer, and she accepted for a new Parks and Recreation Director. So Karen O'Donnell, she's coming from the city of Commerce City with, she's their current recreation manager. Comes with a lot of great experience and enthusiasm, and this was the only city she was applying to for a director position because she loves Wheat Ridge so much. So very excited about that. She'll be starting on July 29th.
Thank you. City Attorney's matters. Mr. Dahl.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you very much. Elected officials, and I'll start with Ms. Shaver.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, wait, I do have
okay.
something. I do have something. I went to pay Mr. Goff a compliment. We've had for those of you in television land, City Council has, the City Hall has had visits from strange and disturbing individuals recently, and it's been going on for years since I've been clerk, but Mr. Goff has implemented some safeguards that I think the employees, at least the ones on the first floor, are very happy with, and they are, I won't give any details, but they are frugal things and yet very effective. And I, for one, appreciate it when people are, you need to feel safe when you're at work. And so I appreciate that, and I probably speak for everybody in this building who works here. But thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Keeter.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to congratulate Chief Brennan on his retirement. Although he and I have not always agreed, I know in my heart that he has always had the welfare of this city at the very base of everything that he's done. And if we disagree, it's maybe been on methods, but certainly not policy and the safety of our citizens. I'd also like to thank my constituents who showed up today to have the courage to come forward and talk about the issues on codes enforcement. I appreciate them coming forward. We have a lot of work, I think, to do in that area, and it's a challenge for the entire council moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to echo the sentiments regarding Chief Brennan, and I really appreciate everything that he's done for the city and the amount of passion and dedication that he has poured into his role. And in talking with officers, he has a tremendous amount of respect amongst the officers, and that says a lot about a chief. And just want to say thank you for everything you've done for the city.
Thank you. Ms. Dozman.
Yes, thank you. I also wanted to echo those comments and offer my farewell to Chief Brennan. I've worked closely with him with the Carnation Festival and Parade these last several years, and he's done a great job in keeping the festival safe and our community safe. And he's just an outstanding person, and I'm glad that he's going to stick around and be available for the community in the long term.
Thank you. Ms. Hoppy?
Well, I suppose I could just say ditto. However, I do want to say thank you to the chief. We've had a lot of nice conversations about different things that are happening in our community, and I just really appreciate his leadership and his openness, and I'm really going to miss him. So thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you. Mr. Pond?
Yes, I will give a special District 3 shout out to the chief. And chief is a neighbor. He walks past my house every night, and I feel better for it. So hopefully he's not going to stop doing that. But obviously, I appreciate on multiple levels and have been, honored to be able to talk to him over the fence as a neighbor as well. And he truly is part of our community, and I believe him that he will continue to be. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you. I want to add my thanks to Chief Brennan. I think he's been a great asset for our community, and he's been a great leader to share his talents throughout our community, and he's been a good friend. He's been a mentor, and I've enjoyed very much working with him, and I wish him the best, and I look forward to his continuing commitment and contribution to our community. And also I want to do a shout out and a thank you to the Wheat Ridge Recreation Department and their children's program. They invited me to yoga with goats with about 35 infectiously cute young people this week, and we had a great time on the ground, on our mats, and with the goats all over. So it was a lot of fun, and it was a great event, and those are just some of the things that happen in our community. So with that, we will stand adjourned and see you again.